Well, good morning, folks. It's another Friday, and what I wanted to do today for today's Friday fishing forecast is I wanted to get on the water to do kind of a up-to-date red tide situation. We're gonna go out, we're gonna catch bait. I've gotten a ton of photographs from different people in different areas of the bay, from St. Pete to Clearwater to the north part of Tampa Bay, all with fish kills. Now, a lot of these fish that are dead have been in the water for a while, you can tell, but there's still a lot of red spots all over the place when it comes to the red tide. So we're still battling it. I'm going to go out, try to catch bait, see how the bait reacts, and go from there and see if we can't find some fish. I'm probably going to fish the upper part of the bay, I'm not really sure, and we'll see what happens. But we'll also put in the Friday fishing forecast. We'll talk about our get-together tomorrow, Saturday, at Sunray Marine. So we'll talk about a bunch of different things, and hopefully we can catch some fish. So come along with me and see what we can find out. Well, folks, I can tell you right now that these fish have been dead for a while, and they're floating in and out with the tide. Mainly, it's a lot of bait fish, some catfish. I saw one mullet, but there's a line of them. You can maybe make out the line of them all the way down. It's mixed in with grass, so this is telling me that this has been pushing with this pile of grass, so the storm has moved it around. The smell is horrendous, though. It's almost to the point to where it makes me want to puke. But the funny thing is there's actually bait flipping next to this, so I don't know, but I can see more dead fish way out that way. Again, this is an area, we're just outside Cockroach, so I know this area has been hit pretty hard, and we're just going to stop here and see if there's any bait on this marker. If not, we'll just keep moving down. But of course, I think this is just old, and it's pushing back and forth. It's going into different areas, so people are seeing dead fish and they think, oh, I have, there's bait flipping right there, so I have red tide in my area. Well, not necessarily, because it could, with this storm and everything else, it pushed a lot of fish into different areas, a lot of dead fish. So that's just telling me that, these fish are old. You can tell that they're old. A lot of them were bait fish. I didn't see any game fish in those, so that's kind of a good thing. So we'll see what the rest of the day brings us. There's one of the big dead Goliaths that people were telling me about. You can see dead fish floating in the background. More over here. There's an eel. What's discouraging about this whole thing is that, look, red tide is a natural phenomenon. We all know that. We all understand it. But at the same time, when there's millions upon millions upon millions of gallons of bad water that was dumped into this bay, from the Piney Point fiasco to the sewage issues that we have with the municipalities around this bay. I remember it was about a year and a half ago when we were fishing, and this nasty water went right by us, and Chad was like, well, that's water from a wastewater plant. That's raw sewage. And sure enough, 3 days later, the county of Manatee came out and said that they spilt over 2 million gallons of raw sewage into the bay because they had a break in the line. So kind of, you know, that's what we're putting up with. And you know, this year was the first year that I've literally been able to see 25 feet down. That was the first time I've ever been able to do that. And the water was almost like a Key West kind of greenish tint to it. And of course that didn't last long as soon as the rains picked up, but that's normal. But it's very discouraging, to say the least. And I'm kind of at a loss for words of what to do. And I mean, it's done. It's done. So now, you know, what can we do to try to stop preventing this kind of stuff? And that's what I want to try to get to the bottom of, is how do we, as anglers, as captains, as anybody that utilizes the water, how do we help contain this? How do we stop them from doing this type of thing? Because right now it's not looking good at all. Smell, just everything seems off. That's the second Goliath I've seen. Ugh. Alright folks, what I've done is the Skyway was loaded with little bait, and it's mainly dying when it hits the live well. But I'm set up here at the main bridge at the Skyway, and I'm chumming up the snapper. Now as you see, I'm fishing on one of the pilings, and I marked some good fish, so I came back and using the slacker jig, 1/8, getting it down there. And the snapper that I just caught actually was spitting up chummers. So okay, that's promising, folks. Promising, promising. There's fish to be caught in Tampa Bay. So what I'm doing, I was just putting a couple pieces of bait on this one and dropping it down. And waiting for that line to take off. I can see spade fish along the piling, which is a good sign. Spade fish are coming right up to the surface. Oh, lost that one. I like these little baits too, because you don't have to cut them up. You can chum straight with the little baits and get those fish up in the water column. Put me in the rocks. What I do is I do about 3 pulls of 20-pound leader. Which I'm using, of course, Tampa Bay Fishing Channel leader. I'm doing an improved Albright knot. So what that is I take it, I loop, I go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I go back through and reverse it twice, once, twice, and back through. And that's it. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a 1/8 slacker, the circle hook, tying it with a perfection loop and getting it done. But as you see, I'm sitting right against this piling right here. The tide is very, very slow right now, and this piling is stacked with fish. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a little bit of a net and dropping the dead baits in there and chumming them up, so it gets these fish chummed up. You have to watch your line very carefully to watch that line just tick. Once it does, you have to be on it really quick. Sometimes you won't see it, but you did there. God bless America. Come on, man. So there's a dead tarpon, a dead flounder. The tarpon's been dead for a while though. Tons and tons of bait fish. Oh, it smells horrible. Dead grouper. Blowfish, robinfish. Well, at least I can say that near the Skyway, I was able to catch some fish. The water wasn't horrible. I still had some bait die, but I loaded the live well pretty good. But didn't really see any dead fish out that way. The water was definitely had a greener tint to it. I've stopped at some spots on the way in and hooked some fish. But then every time I see something like that, the water gets really nasty looking. So I don't know if it's correlation, but I can tell you all these fish right here have been dead for a while. So, you know, I can only say so much about that. But there's also live bait flipping around it, which is really odd too. But anyway, if you want to go out and fish, there are areas that you can go and fish and catch fish. I just showed it earlier. So don't be discouraged completely. I know seeing all of this stuff really kind of sucks, but then again, Tampa Bay will make it through this. We just got to figure out how to stop it from happening more and more and more. And like I said before, red tide is a natural phenomenon, but we as human beings are helping exasperate it. So it's you know, with us dumping stuff in this bay, it kills me. It just some people just don't understand the ramifications of it, especially people that don't go out and enjoy the water. So you know, just remember that I'm here showing you the bad part and the good part. Now I know a lot of my captain friends are struggling because of business, people canceling and stuff like that. Always talk to your captain first and find out what the captain thinks. If the captain believes that he can put you on fish, he's gonna find fish for you. This whole bay is not dead. If this whole bay had died, this whole thing would be covered in fish. So I just think that, of course, I think the weaker fish get plucked out. You know, if it was horrible, if it was really bad, I would be seeing grouper, snappers, all kinds of fish everywhere. I've heard that there's been some kills of snook and redfish and things like that, and unfortunately that's just the way it's going to happen. But at the same time, I think once this water cleans up, I think it's going to be pretty good. It typically is after we have a red tide like this. I think it eliminates some of the weaker fish and strengthens the estuary. So with all that being said, don't be completely Debbie Downer on this thing. It sucks, yes, but at the same time, get out there and find the fish. There are good clean waters. One key thing that I'll recommend is that look at the red tide map from my FWC. That will give you a really good indication of where to go and where not to go, because right now that map seems to be dead on to where all the dead fish are at. But again, they're moving. But just look at that map and determine, if you look past the Skyway, there's nothing out there. So I fished at the Skyway bridge today and did quite well. I hooked a lot of big fish, got broken off quite a bit, got a nice snapper in, got a nice grouper in at 22 and a half, 23. So the fish are there. It's just, you got to be patient and don't stress out if your bait dies, because they'll eat dead bait and they'll eat cut bait. That's what I caught the fish on today. So anyway, with that being said, let's get into the Friday fishing forecast, talk about this weekend, and talk about our get together tomorrow at Sunray Marine. So let's get into the Friday fishing forecast. Folks, I made it back to the dock. I had a chance to get out and kind of survey what I was looking at, and as you saw, there was some good things and then there were some bad things, but that's just the way it goes right now. Unfortunately, it's I wish it was better, but it is what it is. And I was able to find some clean water, catch some fish, so that was all good. And so like I said, I'm back here at the office. I have to get ready for everything for tomorrow's party, so I just wanted to get back and be able to finish up the Friday fishing forecast and get everything ready for the get together tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get into the tides and salooners for this weekend, and then if you're coming to the show, or not the show, but to the get together, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, for the tides on Saturday, we have a low tide at 5:24 a.m. at a 1.36 foot. Then we have a high tide at 1:23 p.m. at a 2.66 foot. Then we have a low tide at 9:27 p.m. at a negative 0.19 foot. Then on Sunday, we have a high tide or low tide at 6:38 at a 1.32. Then we have a high tide at 2:01 p.m. at a 2.67 foot. Then we have a low tide at 10:05 p.m. at a negative 0.19 foot. Now let's go ahead and talk about the salooners for this weekend. On Saturday, we have a minor feeding time from 6:31 a.m. to 7:31 a.m. Then we have a major feeding time from 1:13 p.m. to 3:13 p.m. Then on Sunday, we have a minor feeding time from 7:29 a.m. to 8:29 a.m. Then we have a major feeding time from 2:05 to 4:05 p.m. Again, folks, that's the Friday fishing forecast, and kind of stay with us. We're gonna be updating and just keeping everybody updated about the red tide, what's going on. But one of the key things is to use that map, that red tide map from the my FWC is a good map to kind of give you an idea where this red tide is. So, you know, if you can get out there and fish, do it. I don't say stay home and don't fish. I would just avoid certain areas. So I think anything south of the Skyway, I think you're going to be in good shape. I think anything north, you're going to run into a lot of that red tide, and as you saw on the map, most of it's in the middle of the bay, so I would kind of try to avoid that if at all possible. I did catch some fish or miss some fish inside the bay, so there are fish available. You're just going to have to get used to using dead bait most likely, and small bait, because it is hatched and there's a lot of small bait around. But I was able to finally find bait at the Skyway. That's the only place I really was able to find bait. So if you're looking for bait, that's where I would start looking. Anyway, thanks again for all the support. We really appreciate it. And if you get a chance to come see us tomorrow, come see us tomorrow at Sunray Marine from 12 to 4. We're going to have the food truck. We're going to have an ice cream truck. Chad's doing an ice cream challenge. We have a steel drum band. We have our tackle there. So it's just going to be a fun get together with everybody. So if you plan on coming out, come out and see us. Again, thank you very much. Fish more, catch more, and we'll see you on the flip side.